vote. And we see not a direct linear relationship with how you answer a question on the survey and how you vote, but there's a significant non-linear relationship with how you answered questions on the survey with how you voted. And what we found typically is that if you can get 45% or more of the members on a survey where they're not really sure what that project is, saying, hey, I want something done to it. I don't know what you're planning, but anything you plan is going to be better than what we have now. That as long as the club does a good capital project in a cost-effective way, that not only will you get those on the survey saying they're going to do it, but you'll get typically another 50, 60%. So that would be like another 25 or 30% of the members who would vote and approve the project. So we feel that any project where you get 45% or more of the members on a survey saying, as long as it's a well-planned capital project, that you will get the majority of members to vote and support that. So we feel that even providing an indoor teaching and practice center are projects that most of the members will support, again, if it's a good job is done with and it's done in a cost-effective manner there. So are you the members willing to pay anything to expedite some of these projects? Because many times clubs fund their capital projects through transfer fees. I mean, that's probably the #1 mechanisms for many clubs. But recently, in the last 3 to 4 years, with the way the economy has been, and really many clubs not having enough new members coming in, the amount of transfer fees coming in has declined significantly at many of your competitors as well as clubs across Canada. So many clubs have had to institute different mechanisms to generate revenues for capital projects other than transfer fees. So anyway, we'll talk about that later. But right now, 52% of you said that the club should borrow the funds and that you would be willing to pay something on a monthly basis in order to, again, pay off that additional debt incurred by the club. Another 52%. Now, the reason you're saying, well, how can that add up to more than 100%? Remember, you could have answered each question and said you preferred not only option 1 and 2, but some of you may even prefer option 3 and 4. But so some of these may add up, but because you may prefer 2 out of the 4 options or 1 out of the 4, whatever that may be. But 52% also indicated that if a combination was used where the assessment was low and the monthly fee was low, that you would prefer that as well. Not many of you wanted just a one-time assessment or even if it was refundable, and especially if it was non-refundable, was not the preferred mechanism. Now, what was the average assessment indicated on the survey? The average was for a one-time assessment. The reason I have 2 numbers up there, one score is the mean and one is the median, and I report both because obviously there could be some difference between the 2. Typically, the mean may be higher because you may have some individuals who indicated a very high number, which could cause that average number to go up. Sometimes the median may be a better indicator of the average score than the mean is. So I report both. But anyway, the average, for example, was just over $3,000, but when we looked at golf-only members, that went up to about $3,500. If we looked at just athletic members or members with no children, that number was just slightly below $3,000. When we looked at the average monthly amount, it was between $50 to $65. The golf athletic members, though, indicated a higher amount at $74 a month. Members for 10 years or more, $71. Frequent golfers, $72. But it was lower for just athletic members, or members for 9 years or less. It was just $59 and $61. But roughly, it was right around, again, that $60 range. Okay, so that's all I'm going to cover with the survey. There were a lot of other results, but those were the key results on the survey. So from the results of the analysis and from the results of the survey, these are the key issues that the club is facing. One of the key issues is maintaining the club to be a full-service, family-oriented club. The second thing is the club needs to have a membership development plan in order to address gaining additional members. The club has to have a master long-range capital plan. It has to have a funding plan on how to fund the particular capital projects. And there has to have a plan on improving the quality of the food and menu selection. because those are the things that came up in terms of the analysis as well as the survey results. So these are the key strategies. One is the club needs to procure and retain a quality staff. And it can do that by, again, maintaining a staff through a competitive compensation system, maintaining a training program to make sure that the staff is trained on what quality service is, as well as meeting all of the operational standards that the club has set for each and every department, and training the staff to utilize the most current technology, not only to provide excellent service, but again, to increase the efficiencies in the operation of the club there. Some other key strategies is that the club needs to provide high-quality programs, policies, and amenities. And this will be accomplished by when the club implements a variety of activities and programs to continue to make the club a family-oriented club. The second issue is the club needs to allow members to vote who cannot attend the AGM or special meetings. Okay, this again, remember, 88% of the respondents indicated they were in support of this. This is a major trend in private clubs because, especially among younger members who don't have the time to attend special meetings, and clubs are finding less and less attendance at the AGMs and at the special meetings, and that really key strategic decisions for the clubs is being decided by a small, very small number of members at the club if the requirement is for members to be present at the meetings for it. So we're seeing not only do your members want it, but members across Canada at all other clubs are demanding the ability to vote without the requirement of being in attendance at the mandatory meeting. So this, in my opinion, is a very important strategic action for the club to take. The club has to improve the satisfaction with the food quality at the club here. There was a level of dissatisfaction, but yet again, casual dining is one of the most important dining options for members here at the club. The club strategically needs to try to increase food and beverage revenues associated with profitable banquets. You know what? There's a distinct difference, not only here at the Derrick, but across Canada, in terms of what sector of the food and beverage revenues make money. When you're dining, you as members in the Spike Bar, in the different areas here at the club, you don't generate a whole lot of profitable dollars. I know you probably think you do, but you don't. What really generates the high profit dollars is when the club knows, for example, that in this room there's going to be, for example, 150 individuals dining. They know exactly how much food to order, how much staff to have on hand. They make a tremendous amount of profit, but the club doesn't know how many members are going to be dining in the Spike area. I mean, that number can gravitate, but yet you have to staff it, you have to have the variety of food and everything else in there. So that's why at all clubs, you know, private parties is extremely profitable, whereas member dining is not as profitable there. Increase the times that spouses and significant others can access the golf course. Once again, that was something that members were dissatisfied with, and that members indicated that they wanted change at the club. And expand and improve technology in the club, because in order to become more cost effective, to become more greener and so forth, utilizing technology is going to be important at the club there. Membership development. I can't tell you how important this is, not only here, but here's just an interesting statistic. Typically during economic upturns, clubs across Canada that reported having a waiting list, that is a waiting list to get into the club, not a waiting list to get out of the club, like you've probably heard some stories of clubs, especially in the Ontario market you know, where they have some refundable portion of their entrance fees and they're on a waiting list to get that back. But typically during economic upturns, the number of clubs in Canada reporting that they had a waiting list to get in was typically around 35, 36%. And then during the last 2 decades of economic downturns, that number typically would go down to 25 or 26%. Well, last year, the number of clubs reporting having a waiting list went down to an all-time low of only 9% of clubs. So, you know, clubs, including the Derrick, are facing some tough economic times in terms of membership development. So the club really needs to implement a membership development plan. And some of the things